In conversation with Peter Turley, a renowned sales transformation strategist and the creator of the CMICP system as well, a framework, I would say, which has helped a lot of organizations and leaders rethink how they sell, build, and create long-term commercial success. If I'm not wrong, something like that.
Yes, that's
And Peter has spent decades working with organizations and senior executives across global organizations think or shift their thinking from a purely transactional point of view to more of a mindset driven by clarity, value, and intelligent action. Peter, thanks a lot for joining us.
very welcome. It's great to be here.
Fantastic to have you on board, and we're looking forward to uh, having more of your views on the sales aspect of the organization on a broad and level that we talked about. Right? So, my first question that we would I would like to have a discussion and an insight from you is starting from the basic in your experience, I would say what are the first basic principles of effective sales thinking, right? That most of the organizations that they ignore, like basic aspects what you've seen in organizations when it comes to their sales.
That's a great question. Well, there's two ways of looking at it. What do people ignore, or what do people fundamentally decide they don't want to know, or they won't accept? And what that comes down to, that I see the most, is a refusal to admit that they run a sales organization.
Yeah.
That's what I see the most. Now, what do I mean by that? I would meet an awful lot of people, especially in the tech side of things, where they have developed an amazing product,
Yeah.
Or an amazing service that has generally solved a problem that they themselves had. And they developed this product or service to solve that problem. And somewhere in their mind, they think that because it solved a problem for them and they love it so much, it is their baby,
Yeah.
of course, that therefore people should queue up to buy it.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is, number one, nobody could buy your product or service if they don't know it exists,
Yeah.
right? And the second thing is, I'm going to go slightly off this just to explain what I'm talking about here. In my lifetime, the world population has doubled.
Yeah.
So it's gone from 4 billion people to thereabouts 8 billion people right now. That's an astonishing change in the amount of people out there. But not only that, I would say the amount of people that are self-employed or starting their own businesses in the world today, that's increased by probably 10, 50, maybe even 15-fold over the period of my lifetime. So many, many more people are trying businesses than they were 20, 30, 40 years ago, which means customers have far more choice today than ever. So if I have a problem and I go on a search engine and I look for solutions to my problem,
Yeah.
I could now get 500 or 1,000 businesses all claiming to solve my problem. How does somebody pick out of 500 when they are all talking about the features and benefits and all that of their problem? And here's the fundamental thing: a confused mind can't buy. And when all these people talk about the things that they do that are the same, it just makes it impossible.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is we have to take a step back and say, what makes me different to all the other 500? Why am I the special one out of the 500? Why am I the one that's going to put my hand up and show you what this is going to do for your problem and your business and your future and your life? And human beings don't like to do that because it goes against everything that's built into us instinctively for survival, which is blend in.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest issue is business owners, business founders understanding that you are running a commercial enterprise. Building your products is great, but making money out of your products is more important than the building.
Yeah. The follow-up, that's an interesting point. On a similar view, what I think is, like you said, there's the number of people now getting into business is increasing, right? When we talk about 500, let's say, products, there's what I've seen, especially in the tech side as well. I would say so many of them would be doing such similar things,
Mm-hmm.
right? The one of the fundamental difference comes is in their marketing, in their sales, in their visibility, credibility, right?
Yes.
It could be that they're doing the exact same thing. I mean, as simple as if you take something like, I don't know, HubSpot or any other CRM, right? You have thousands of competitors who are maybe better than them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right? When it comes to, of course, solving the problem, that's number one. But in terms of visibility and marketing that they're putting out, I think that has started to play a major role in terms of how you are standing out.
Yes.
Because a lot of times that what we've seen personally is that the product is maybe sometimes not even that good, but you see that marketing and the branding, it's so on point. It looks like, this is what I want.
Yes.
So blending out of the crowd is maybe through marketing aspect. Of course, it's not true for all the industries, but I would say that is one of the area way through which companies and products and services are. I mean, like you just said, you go on search engines, you search for a problem, you have thousands of
Mm-hmm.
people doing the same things, right? So I think that's very important for organizations to understand that sales is, if you don't have sales,
You don't have a
yeah,
business.
you don't have a business. And that is sometimes I think people forget. It's like, okay, we're building a great product. Oh, we think it's amazing, but just go on, just go on. There's thousands of tools. Just see, is it actually what people are looking for? Is there actually a demand in the market? I mean, it's on one side of things, but that's what I think people are lacking as well sometimes.
Mm.
They're building first and then trying to sell it later, which requires more budgets in, maybe even convince people that this is a problem that you have,
Mhm.
that, and then we are solving that problem,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And then what happens is you spend it, as you say, you spend an awful lot of time, invest an awful lot in what do I need to say people to get them to buy this?
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you come back from that, right? Let's just imagine you wanted to sell this chair.
Yeah.
Now, which is the easier thing to do? Is it to go onto an ad website and take nice photographs of the chair, put up a nice description of it, go through all the things you need to do to get that visible to people, pay for the upgrades, all that? Or would it be easier if I went onto the wanted section of of the website, find somebody who's looking for a chair, and contact them with a one-line message that says, "I have a chair"? Which one is going to be the easier sale? Of course, it's going to be the "I have a chair." Great. I want a chair. Now we are marrying the perfect customer with the perfect solution, right? And too many people do it the other way. They do it the long way. They design the chair, they come up with the chair, they spend a fortune doing the chair without asking, is there anybody in the wanted section looking for a chair? Okay. So there is that. So that's the first thing, is to remember that there is. So, and also is to remember is it's not so much why the problem was a solution for you, which was why you came up with it in the first place. It's making it relevant to other people so they can see it as the solution to their problem. Because no two people in the world look at the things the same way, right? Like, there's a very funny statistic that if the police turn up to a road accident and they interview the witnesses and the people involved in the road accident, and everybody tells the same story, they get really suspicious that something's going on, because generally no two people look at things the same way. So in that, if we take the lesson from that, which is, no matter how good my product that's sitting right here is, the way you'll interact with it, the way I'll interact with it, the way the people watching this interact with it will all be different. So therefore, their understanding of the solution will be different. So the marketing that maybe works for you won't work for me, won't work for somebody else. So it's knowing how to make your thing relevant and resonate with the viewer is key. Absolute key. But to understand, to be able to do that, you don't just have to know what the other person's problem is. You have to know what value the solution to the problem will have to them after they've had the solution. So in other words, what will their life be like after you've done your job? And that allows it to resonate across a wider part of the audience. You with me?
Yeah.
And if you get known for a solution rather than getting known for a problem, you become more memorable to people and you become more valuable to people. But yet, what percentage of people do we see advertising to the solution rather than advertising the product? And therein is a big thing, which relates to the real statistics. 5% of people are marketing to the solution. 95% of people are marketing their product. Is it any wonder that Enterprise Ireland's own figures will show us that 95% of businesses started in this country on an annual basis fail to make their 5th birthday? The 95 who are advertising the product struggle to build long-term businesses. The 5% who think beyond the product do well. Does that make sense? So it's about taking that and shifting your mindset into the 5% mindset that are successful, not the 95% mindset that ultimately don't have long-term success.
Okay. I'll move on to the next question about the system that you have developed. Could you explain in terms of the core, I would say, the components of the system that you suggest, I would say, to organizations or that you work around, and especially if it also has applications just in larger organizations, or is it the SME sectors can be implemented by them?
Well, the principle of it works everywhere. Okay. So what it is it's the CMI system, and that stands for clarify, manage, and implement. Okay. So that means we clarify what we're selling, which is that what we spoke about, the solution rather than the product. We clarify who it's for. We clarify how we're going to sell it. We clarify how we're going to market it. And we clarify the conversation that the salespeople will have when marketing brings in the leads, so that they are all in alignment. Okay? Now, it's all very well to have that in theory, but if we don't have the system put in place to manage how that works, it won't survive.
I agree.
And then once we know how to manage it, we have to train the managers how to implement that across the organization.
So the process orientation in it is pretty important.
Incredibly important.
That's what I've focused on day one at Perfect Digital as well. It's about having those process orientation, because until and unless you can have that, you can't scale or even have a replicable aspect to sales.
This is very important. And this is something that a lot of people that I meet that I can tell aren't going to last the long term, because they make it the salesperson's problem. I say, what's your strategy? What's your this? What's your that? They go, oh, just find me great salespeople and we'll send them out into the world with a product, no marketing assets, and hope they make sales. Now we become too dependent on great salespeople. What happens if they leave? What happens if they decide they don't like working there? What happens? So the way to look at it is, we either set salespeople up to succeed, or we set salespeople up to ultimately fail. The difference between the two is what we do in preparation before salespeople go out on the road that gets them ready, that gives them the right marketing assets, that gives them the right tools, that gives them the right scripts, that gives them the right presentations. Because I've developed this theory. You are much more likely to succeed if you have everything set up so it can be sold in an average market by average salespeople. Because then you can scale it. But if you have if you only have things set up in a way that it can only be sold in a high market with high quality salespeople, you're restricting your opportunities too much. Does that make sense? And that's where the problem with scaling is. If you're dependent on a very small number of salespeople, how are you supposed to scale that? You can't do it. So scaling starts in the clarification part of the CMI, lay the foundation, and then build everything on top of a good foundation, and then you have something you can scale massively.
Peter, I have a question for you, which is, I would say you must have heard this quite a lot, especially in sales, right? And I just want to link it to the system that we just had a chat about, is price objection.
Yes.
Especially in the sales. I'm sure you must have heard it quite a lot, which is very common, right?
Yes.
But a business, I would say, maybe even losing deals because of price objections, or their sales team losing.
Yes.
I wouldn't focus on the individual aspect of it, but as an organization aspect of it, in terms of sales objections from the sales team.
Right? Yes.
Does your system, or what the value that you are providing, right? How do you handle that? I would say, because that's price objection. I think is across all organizations that they face, that companies face, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're selling a €50 product or a 50,000 or a $500,000 product. It's always there.
Yes.
Always going to be there. So what's your take on it?
My take on that is, if you get a price objection, you've set your salespeople up to fail from the very start.
Yeah.
Right? Because price objections don't happen by accident. Now, let me explain. Right? Let me explain that. Do you know anybody who has an iPhone?
Yes, sir.
Now, here's the thing. It's a huge selling product. It is more expensive than any other phone in the marketplace. What happens, do you think, in an Apple store, if somebody comes in and says, I've got 5 other prices for the same thing? What do they say to them? And it's certainly not, let me see if I can match the price for something else, right? Doesn't happen, right? Now, what's the lesson in this? Apple created a narrative from the very first moment that the iPhone was released back in 2007 to turn it into a product that people aspired to. That was done by the marketing. That was done by Steve Jobs and the speeches that he made about it. That was done from the get-go, right? And remember, when it came out, it was 3 or 4 times more expensive than the leading Motorola had been prior to it. So it wasn't that it was only slightly more expensive, it was massively more expensive. Yes, it is now seen as a status symbol, and it's not about whether you got it for a discount. I see people having conversations about how much they paid for it. They can't wait to tell people, I spent €1,500 on this phone. Look at me, how successful I am. Now, we take that principle. It's the same with a Rolls Royce. It's the same with a high-end Mercedes-Benz. It's the same with a high-end watch. It's not about getting a deal on it. It's about being able to show that you can afford to buy it. In all of those cases, the narrative was started at the very start. Does that make sense? And this is how you get rid of price objections. You have to have the narrative so that people want your product. And this is why when we sell the product based on the product specifications, based on the features, then of course people are going to compare prices.
Yeah.
But if you look at an advert for an Apple, you never see the specs. Oh, they're very small down at the bottom, but it's all about how owning the Apple product will make you feel.
Yeah, the perception that they've created or the value that they're trying to, of course, that's of course the case. But I would say they, of course, they spent massively and they still do on. I mean, initially, of course, they did massively spend on marketing to have that perception on board. But if we go down a bit of a lower segment, we're not talking about the higher products aspect of it, right? So
Mhm.
maybe even the SME space, right? In there, I would say, is it a similar mindset thing that you
It's
think they need to have?
it's all in the mindset, right? It's all in how we pitch the product.
Yeah.
It's all in how we market the product. It's all in how we present the product to the customer.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Imagine you're a small accountancy firm.
Yeah.
Now there's an SME style thing, right? And I go and see 5 different accountancy firms, and all of them say, we will do your books at the end of the year. We will do your audit for revenue purposes. We will make sure everything's absolutely perfect, and we will do the best we can to minimize your tax. They're all going to say the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
So what happens? They all say the same thing, and you go, okay, now what's the only thing you can pick based on? The price.
Yeah.
Because it's the only differentiator you have. Now, what if I said, so not only do I do your books, not only do I do all of that, we are plugged in to all revenue changes. So we get all the changes and we get all the bits and pieces that are going to make a difference to your business immediately. So we can update it in real time. We can maximize your tax reduction based on everything that's real time with revenue. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to find you the price of a holiday every year in tax reductions that you didn't know you had in your business.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
right?
Obviously, yeah.
Now, who are you going to pick? And does price come into it now? Are you going to go, well, they're €100 dearer to do the books, so I'll go with someone else, when the price of a holiday is €10,000,
Yeah.
right? So which one are you going to go for? It's obvious. You're going to go for the one that's differentiated themselves
Yeah.
with a solution, but it's not a solution compared to everybody else. It's what remember I said, it's what you've done what they have after you've done your job.
Yeah.
After you've done your job, this firm will give you a holiday.
Yeah.
Now you're concentrating on the holiday and not the €100 extra. Will you have a price objection? So this is the point I'm making. The principle, yes, it's huge with Apple, but the same principle with an accountancy firm, the same principle with a small software firm, same principle with everybody.
Yeah.
If you have price objections, then you're not talking about the life the person will have after you've done your job.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So I agree in that aspect definitely, because I mean, you must have seen it yourself. The first, of course, value proposition is already there. Right? You see prospects talking about price aspect, maybe not immediately, but at some point or the other. But I would say the value aspect of it, of how their problem is being solved, in what way you present it, I would say, of course, you have to implement what you're saying as well.
Yes.
But the way you present it matters a lot. That's what we. So the medium of it can be anything. It can be through digital. It can be through offline meetings. It doesn't matter. It can be through social media. It can be through search engines. It doesn't matter. It has to be the value aspect that will telling people, right? That's I would say the most important aspect of it.
Yes.
Okay. I'll just go on to a bit more modern things happening in terms of AI, right? Now, I'll tell you my take on it, but I would first like to hear, let's say, in the era of AI, right, the automations, and there's too much of sales automation that people claim that's happening, things are being sold on an autonomous way, which I'm not completely on board with. But
Yes.
I would say what human capabilities in this AI process that everyone's been talking about, right? And like we initially talked about the process orientation of things in sales, right? There, I would say AI can play a part, but I'm interested to know what you think would be the human values in it, right? In this AI automation or process that would be more, if not less, important going ahead. Let's say, I think it's even difficult to predict now 2 years what's going to happen. But in general, the AI bubble, what do you think is going to happen in sales?
I think it's very interesting. There's a lot of debate out there at the moment. And an awful lot of people are using AI chatbots and all these things. At least we're being told they are to reduce costs, right? To reduce the staff numbers, to reduce all that kind of thing. Now, there's a couple of things I look at in that. The first is the mindset. And let me make this incredibly plain. No one in the history of the planet created something amazing by trying to save money. It has never happened. Never mind in the age of AI, right? Did Richard Branson, to name a well-known entrepreneur, decide that he was going to build Virgin Atlantic to compete against British Airways to save money? Or did he do it to create something better than British Airways, right? So, number one, if you're dealing with somebody whose main principle to grow their business is to save money and reduce costs, your service is going to go through the floor, right? So even from a strategic business point of view, that's not going to work. Number two, have you used a service at the moment, a provider, say an electricity provider, telephone provider, whatever it happens to be, internet provider, where they are using chatbots to answer customer queries? Does it work? Or is it just a complete waste of time? And I know how it makes me feel as a valued customer, or maybe not so valued customer, when a chatbot is put on, because they have never been able to answer my questions, never been able to answer my queries. You spend 15, 20 minutes of your life filling in questions, and then it gets to the end and says, I can't answer that, I'll have to hand you over to an agent. What a waste of my time, right? And when I work out the value of my time, I go, oh, I can't be done with this, right? So that's the next thing. Now, they say these things will get better over time, but you see, sales is not really about the same thing as marketing. Sales is about cementing the relationship that marketing starts so that there's a purchase, and more importantly, continuous purchases. Okay? Now, when we don't have, and to do that, just to create that, you need trust. And the trust is not just that the person is lying or not lying when they try and sell you the thing. You need the trust in the company that they will fulfill what they promise after you've bought the product or service. You with me? Unless you have human contact or human interaction during that part of the process, you don't create the trust. It's not physically possible, right? And this is why things like shaking hands when we meet, looking in the whites of the eyes of somebody as you're having a conversation, these are the things that build trust. You can't have that with AI, right? Now, I'm going to give you a really good example because I was only reading this week. We all know a company called Salesforce. Absolutely massive company. Went on a spree about 12 months ago of downsizing their staff numbers, downsizing, building up their AI components to cut costs. What happened? They are now going to hire more people than they let go of. They have realized that the human touch in sales is too important because humans are buying. Now, here's the thing. When will AI become really successful in selling? When AI is also doing the buying. When do you think that will happen? Because in the end of the day, Robots don't have wallets. Bots don't have cash. Bots don't have bank accounts. So if you're not dealing with a human, there's nobody to buy your product.
But I'll tell you an interesting thing. What you mentioned about the wallets, right? So ChatGPT they've released their own browser access, right, recently, and they also have an agent mode now. Which what happens is you type in that I'm looking to I don't know, get book a room in Dublin for the next for 2 nights, whatever it is, and it goes on to any site, like, which is of course optimized. Usually it's of course booking.com or something like that. It will do the entire process on your browser on its own. You don't need to touch anything. It will take you till the payment
Yes.
option.
Mhm.
So like you said, ultimately the payment needs to be made by human. That aspect hasn't come into the picture yet,
Yes.
but it's doing all the other things.
Yes. Yes. It's
Again,
doing the research.
It's doing the research. It's
Yes.
doing okay. It's maybe even picking the hotel for you,
Yes.
right? But the payment aspect of it is coming to an individual. That means the human first intervention is required. But the question, of course, stands. I would say, when will that barrier be crossed? We don't know.
Well, think of it.
Or if it will be crossed or not. That's
Well, think of it this way. You're 100% right. But before you pay, you're not going to take the computer's word for it. You're going to go on the hotel website. You're going to look at the photographs. You're going to look at the reviews. You're going to make sure that you're going to have a nice time while you're there, right? So if the computer brings you back something and you look at it and you go, ooh, I don't like the look of that, you're not going to purchase. So the computer doesn't have the autonomy to actually make the purchase, right? Plus, the reviews are the same in the hotel industry. The reviews are like talking to a human, aren't they? Right? So, and how you feel when you see the photograph. You might like the color of the headboard. I might not like the color of the headboard. No computer is going to know the difference of what you're going to see when you initially see it.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? So in that case, yes, I know we spend less time talking to an actual human when we book a hotel, but how you perceive it when you see it becomes important. And the human aspect of putting the marketing together, putting the room together, making it look well, right? That's as important, but that's setting it up to make the conversation easier, as we spoke about at the start.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. My last question to you would be on a broader aspect, right?
Yes.
What do you think now? You can even relate it to AI coming into the sales process to maybe reduce or increase people. That's something we talk about sales force. But how do I would say C-level executives or founders or CEOs prepare uh, with AI changing so rapidly? I would say, right? So many things coming up, and of course, the human aspect is still required. But especially when it comes to the C-suite people or the founders, they're always skeptical in terms of do we still need more people where automation and AI can do till this level, right? So that mindset coming like, in the years to come, what do you think they should prepare or have? What kind of mindset do they need to have when it comes to sales orientation or sales processes in their organizations?
I think the most important thing is, look, there are good aspects to it. Of course there are, right? The hardest part to get over for any salesperson in any organization, from a one-person organization up to top organization, is the human fear of rejection. Okay? That stops people from making phone calls now. It stops people from doing video calls. It stops people from knocking on the doors. Okay? So perhaps there is a future in that for AI, because AI does not have these kind of fears. So it can make some of the cold calling. The problem is it doesn't understand the nuances in hearing, in a tone, in a human voice, right? I believe there is stuff coming, right? But what everybody needs to do is they need to experiment with it. Find out for their particular company, in their particular industry, where the point of having it handed over to a human to be most effective, right? Not that it's too late that you've nearly lost the sale, or not that it's too early that the interest isn't peaked yet. Okay. But each one is going to have to test it, find the optimum change over time, and then build a repeatable, scalable function around that. Okay. You see, there's two ways you can look at it. We can use AI to go into LinkedIn, to go into databases and send 100 million emails tomorrow. If they're not great quality emails, we'll still get a certain amount of reply to it. But they're going to be low quality replies, even if they're low quality outreach. Personally, I would prefer to make 100 exceptional emails, right? And get a 50% response rate, but of people who are much more interested and much closer to being ready to buy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Then what happens is you need less salespeople because your customers coming in are closer to being ready to buy. So you don't have the time frame trying to take somebody from a cold, using a salesperson to turn them into warm, to turn them into hot, to turn them into sold. That makes sense, right? So I think the outreach is probably having a brilliant outreach that doesn't need to go out to so many, that we don't need to filter so much, is probably the easiest way to free up salespeople's time. Then if you have really well-trained salespeople that have great leads, people ready to go, and they're trained to bring them over the line, in the end of the day, I don't think there's anything out there that's going to beat that.
Yeah.
Now or in the future.
Okay, Peter, thanks a lot. I think we've had a great conversation around the sales aspect of it. We're on the, of course, on the first end of things, wherein we get into that door and get in the leads, and then it allows the salespeople to. I'm talking about the digital.
Yes.
The digital economy, digital way, right? And then it's up to the salespeople, of course, to get into their doors, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Peter. Thanks a lot.
Very welcome.
Conversation. And all the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.